welcome back. You're watching the Kaiser Report. I'm John, coming to you here from the studio today with Kaiser. We had a live report yesterday due to the fact that there was a lot going on with regard to the relief efforts for this devastation that the hurricane that came through just a scant a week ago. And now we're faced with a new one that will make landfall sometime between Wednesday and Thursday, they say, with Tampa in its sights. The disturbing things that I've read this morning and that is being talked about quite often here on this platform and other platforms is the fact that the lackluster response from the government to get aid out to people, saying that Congress needs to come back in session and do things. While Kamala Harris is going on The View today to give her points of view to The View, which should be very interesting because her CBS lack of answers yesterday with regard to what's going on with the border was one thing, but she came out yesterday also and announced that we're sending a $157 million aid package to Lebanon, while we have $100,000, or rather $100 million allocated to the relief efforts and road rebuilding that is going to go on and has to go on to bring this nation back to where they can open roads and rebuild some of these bridges that are down. People are wondering why it is that Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday, when asked by Peter Doocy, why is it that we can give aid to a foreign country without Congress, but yet to rebuild roads and help people out of dire straits that have been hit here, our citizens, by this hurricane, and aid has to have Congress come back into session to approve increased amounts to go to FEMA, when we full well know now that, in her own words, in just a scant year ago, she said that FEMA funds were going to go to help the illegals in this country for various reasons. And there's so many conspiracy theories out there among people wondering what the heck is going on. Is it money laundering 101 with this government, or will they come clean and help the people that are in dire need of help? There are communities completely cut off because there are no bridges getting to those communities, and the relief efforts have been wonderful on the part of both public people, faith-based organizations, and the government has put in what they need to do into these aid stations. But you have to understand, and I live here and I see this, that it is very, very impossible for people to get to these aid stations to pick up the needed water, foodstuffs and clothing and blankets and bedding that they need, because the roads are completely washed away. So that means we need the ability to have not only all these private helicopters that are coming in and have been thwarted in some cases from being able to get into these places, and they're being held up by bureaucracies in some areas that their bureaucrats have no idea of what they're doing, it would seem. We're in dire need in the western North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. East Tennessee has been hit very, very hard, and we need the efforts put in here. And if there's dollars to be given to a foreign country in the amount of $157 million, and then they turn around and allocate $100 million to rebuild Route 40, which is a government road to begin with, and they have to rebuild it anyway. What is going on with an administration that sits there and wants to give aid to our allies' enemies, a direct related area of involvement by Iran? They're proxies of Iran, and we want to give them $157 million under the guise of aid to the people. What about aid to the people of this country that are in dire need right now? And I'm not talking about the refugees, asylum seekers, and criminals that we have let pour through this border, which she could not answer that question with the CBS reporter yesterday. He asked 3 times and got word salad back again about nothing. Under their watch, the border has been thrown wide open, and we have given and given and given to these illegal aliens that are coming into this country. And now we want to give aid to other countries that are harboring the enemies of not only us, but our allies that are fighting right now against that regime.
You hearing this?
Let Israel finish the job that they started, and let's not support the other side that is fighting against them. This is clear and present, and we all see this right now. You have a candidate that is running for the highest office in this land that is committing money to a foreign country when our own citizenry is in dire need in these hard-hit areas due to weather, hurricanes, tornadoes, you name it. Let's just take a quick jaunt back in history and look at Maui, Hawaii, where an entire community burned to the ground, and we gave them $700 apiece and promised to be back with more aid. And these people, a year and a half, 2 years later, down the road, are still paying for the homes that no longer exist. That $700 is long gone, and FEMA has not been back to add any further aid into that community that was promised. And now the left is saying, oh, you know what? We offered $750 right now, but we'll be back with more. That's what they told the citizens in Maui. What makes you think that Western North Carolina, East Tennessee, Florida, and Georgia will receive any more than the $750 that Kamala decided to be magnanimous and give these people that have lost everything? It's more of the same, folks. We take care of the Ukraine, we take care of Lebanon now, and we're taking care of all the despots in the world that need money. And I believe, and in my heart of hearts, I believe that they're laundering money that is coming back into certain pockets throughout this land right now. And in some cases, elected politicians are benefiting from this. You have a person running for the highest seat in the land that is doing this before your very eyes and lying to you about what really happened for the last 4 years. Why was the border thrown wide open under their administration. And why is it that she now wants to give amnesty to everybody that broke the law? And she, as a big prosecutor that she claims she is, has turned her back on the fact that they committed a crime by coming into this country illegally. Why would you give them amnesty? Because you want them to vote for you? Let's take a look at the day of the hurricane hitting and the day after, where she goes on to a sex podcast and a podcast with two basketball players, and then a fundraiser in a community where she raised $50 million from a star-studded fundraiser that she was in Hollywood for, or San Francisco. This is a Marxist liberal beyond your wildest imagination, and it's there, and it's before your eyes. And what she is now doing to these people that have been devastated by this storm is absolutely disgusting and the most in-your-face, blatant, flipping the bird to the United States that is suffering right now. You have all kinds of things that can be done. You have the military that should have been activated and sent into these areas that have been affected immediately for transportation of people that are stuck on the side of a mountain and can't have no roads anymore to get there, to get anywhere else. People hanging in trees. And why is it that our private citizens and their private pilots and private-owned aircraft are having to be used? And God bless those people that have come forward with goods and back-breaking work to get help to these people, while our government official that should be on the ground immediately is at a star-studded fundraiser for her campaign to take this country further down the rabbit hole that these last 4 years have put us in. With regard to the war and Lebanon's involvement in the war, that is an Israeli war that is taking place, and we need to let him do the rest of the job in getting and rooting out Hamas once and for all, and people that are proxies to these Houthi rebels, Hezbollah, and Hamas should never, ever receive 1 penny in aid or help from this government. The people that are suffering in Appalachia right now should be receiving that money. Not despots that doesn't care about anybody here in the United States. They'd rather see us all dead. And she's taken the Palestinian side. That should tell anyone who is on the fence thinking about which way to vote come in the next few weeks, should be evident to you which way to go. Unless you want to live under a destruction of the First Amendment, a destruction of the Second Amendment, and Lord only knows what's going to happen to the Fourth Amendment with the judicial system the way it sits right now. You have a sitting president that should have had Article 25 set and completed by now, who is now talking about, in the midst of all the suffering in these United States today, especially in Appalachia, is talking about student loan forgiveness for people who want to do nonprofit work or government work. Well, how many do you think are going to raise their hands and say, yes, I want to do that? Why are we forgiving anyone's student loans? Those of us that have had student loans and had paid them off should be angry about this. But there's so many things right now to be angry about that we have to look over that and say, we have been blessed in our lifetime in this country, and we need to be kinder and gentler now more than ever and help one another get through this, because if you're waiting for the government to come and help, you're going to have a very, very long wait. They're not set up to do this. They have monkeyed with our Social Security. They have monkeyed with the FEMA allocations. They have monkeyed with everything and switched money around to benefit whatever their socialistic programs required, and to hell with the rest of us. This is the most important election in our lifetime, and we better please pray for guidance and pay attention to what's going on and what the results will end up being. It's now no longer, if you listen to Hillary Clinton, it's no longer an issue of hiding anything anymore. She came out and said emphatically, it was on the news this morning on Fox News, her saying, we have to control all of the media or we'll lose control. What does that tell you? She wants all the social media shut down, and they want full control. And if they don't get it, there's going to be a problem. That's what her method of government will be. You've had 4 years of looking at what Joe Biden was able to accomplish along with his sidekick, Kamala Harris, and this is what you're going to get more of. If you're silly enough to believe the lies that media is propagating, along with the left side politicians that are so scared of losing control that they wet themselves every time Donald Trump says something. Rallies are rallies, and you can say and do what you want, but you have to go right now by past accomplishments and what was achieved by those accomplishments, and also take a look at the last 4 years and say, was I better off before this? You're darn right you were. I would love to be on this broadcast talking to you about reclamation of Irwin, Tennessee, or Asheville, North Carolina, or Spruce Pine, North Carolina, or Damascus, Virginia, about great drive-ins and things of that nature, but here I am having to tell you what's already in front of you, and some of you are paying attention, and some of you are buying off on propaganda that is being pushed to you every day by mainstream media, on X, on social, Truth Social, on Rumble. These people that are posting things against one side are not the answer. The answer is what you see, what you are experiencing. When you go to the grocery store, how much of that cart when you get to the register is costing you? How much is it costing you to fill the gas tank on your car? How better off are your children and what are they learning in the schools today? These are the things that you need to vote on. The border crisis. How many more illegal aliens are we going to absorb into our social systems, in our neighborhoods, and in our workplaces before it says, that's too much? We're flying them in now, so the border numbers look lower. They have an app out there all over the world that you can apply and get a plane ride into the city of your choice, so they don't have to count the numbers that came over the border. Yes, it's decreased somewhat, but we have 20 plus million people in this country that we have absorbed, and half of which we know nothing about, or their criminal history, or what their attitudes are toward you. The crime is up. No matter what Kamala Harris comes out and says, it's high. We know this. They report it. The news media will report it. And then they drop it because they don't want you dwelling on that. They don't want you dwelling on anything that may inform you of what's really going on in this world today. We have open fronts in the Ukraine. We have an open front with the Israeli conflict that's going on right now. And we have Europe that is sitting on a keg of nails because they don't understand what is going to happen. This administration has been lackluster in doing their job. And I don't even want to get into why, or the diversity hires, or the people that are in charge of things like transportation without a clue of what transportation really is. Never mind controlling it. We had a port strike that Biden wants to take credit for stopping, but he did nothing to do this. He could have had Taft-Hartley, but they're worried about losing a union vote. So they would not go against the union. They would not stop the union. And if you think that the port strikes are over, there's already talk on the West Coast by people in the unions. Why did they get that deal and they got more than we did? How long do you think it's going to take before they wise up and do the same thing there? If we don't have strong leadership when things like port shutdowns or ATC or air traffic control shutdowns, which happened under the Reagan administration, has to be handled with strength, from the heart, strength, that they cannot shut this country down. They cannot redefine this country as some kind of a Marxist social program, which is what this administration is hell-bent on doing, along with our Congress and Senate, which houses the squad, that tell you that they back the Palestinians. They tell you they back the Islamic radicals. They tell you what they want to do to fundamentally change this country. This is a country founded upon the principles set forth by our founding fathers here, with a constitution that was written to protect us all and protect this government from sliding back to where it was prior to the revolution and the reason for the revolution. This is what this particular regime that's in charge right now is angling for. And if you aid and abet in this by casting a vote for that side, then you are part of the problem as well. These are hard times for people that have been devastated by this last storm and now facing a new storm is set to hit within the next 24 to 48 hours. Do what you can to help these people and write and do whatever you can to let the government know about your displeasure in the handling of your tax dollars and ask why your tax dollars are going now to Lebanon. And I'm not heartless, and I know there's people been displaced due to this war, but that's a region that has been at war for years, amongst each other even. And it's their responsibility to have their government work on their behalf, not our government working on another nation's behalf while we turn our back on our own citizens in dire need. And with that, I wish you all a very happy Tuesday. God bless you all, and come in Wednesday morning for a Kaiser Report, and maybe with a little more levity and humor, but I can't find levity and humor in what's taken place in this last couple of weeks in my beloved country. Bye-bye now, and God bless.